One of the things you might need to do, regardless of what industry you're in, is a general risk assessment. So this is something you would do at the start of your survey, just to assess the risks in the area that you're working. For example, if you're working at heights, or if there's excessive plant or machinery that could cause you injury. So we have a general risk assessment template that will let you run through some basic checks and assess the risk both before and after you've put in the correct control measures. So let me dive right in and show you how it works. Okay, first thing we'll do is to add a new report. And I'm going to choose the risk assessment template from my list. Now that's my report added. I need to start populating the data. First of all, I'm going to go into the job details section. I'm going to select the type of work that I'm doing. Let's say it's residential, and the service that I'm busy offering. Now, this can all be customized for yourself. In this example, I've just got a few basic asbestos services, so I'm going to select asbestos survey here. Now we start entering some information about the site in which we're working. I'm going to pop it into the site information section, and I'll not fill out all of this information, but typically you might want to fill this out and just put in stuff like the permits you required, any emergency equipment and where it is, and who are the incident contacts, things like the closest medical facility and so on. So for this example, I'm just going to put in that we need a working at heights permit. Okay, so you'll fill that out specific to your situation. The next thing to do is to pop into the on-site risk assessment section. This is really where the body of your risk assessment takes place. So we can either add risks individually using the add item button here and choose from one of these preset hazards, or alternatively you can use the add preset option, and this is going to pre-fill all of the sort of standard risks that you might encounter, and you can delete the ones that aren't relevant. So I'm going to do it this way because it's going to save us a little bit of time. Now, as soon as I selected that standard risk assessment preset, you can see it's actually added a bunch of different risks all at once. We didn't have to add those individually. Now all we need to do is to review each of these risks if it's relevant. If it's not relevant, we can delete the risk. I'll show you both scenarios. So first of all, let's assume that asbestos is a risk in this particular area. And it's a high risk because there's a lot of it, or it's in an area that we're working. Now we can put some comments maybe about where the risk was found. So I could say something like asbestos identified in the kitchen area. And then we need to put in our control measures or working procedures. So I'm just going to say follow in-house and contractor guidance and procedures. You can just type whatever you want into here. And assuming this has been done, assuming these control measures are in place, we can then give it the new risk score. So I'm going to say it's now been marked as a low risk. Now, because we use that preset, what you may have noticed is that all of the items were given this red highlighting on the left-hand side. This red highlighting is an indicator that we need to review these items and save each one just to kind of show that we've looked at them. So we've looked at that asbestos one. That red highlighting has been removed. And let's move on to the next one, biological hazards. So let's assume that biological hazards just aren't relevant to this particular job we're doing. Maybe it's out of the scope, or it's just not something we need to consider. I can swipe to the right here just to delete this risk item, and that will stop it from appearing on the report at all. So the report's not going to look like incomplete. It's going to look like, yeah, it's everything's been considered and looked at. So we would just continue to work through the list in that way. I'm going to do one more before I show you the report. So let's say chemical hazards was a medium risk. For this one, maybe we'll say dangerous chemicals in the work area and working procedures. Let's just say this same one again, follow the in-house and contractor guidance. And again, this one's been rescored as a low. You might have also just noticed as well, we do have this not applicable option. If you choose that, this risk will still appear on the report, but it will clearly show that it's not applicable. So it's like an alternative to actually deleting the risk. Maybe if you still want it to show, but you want to show that it was considered, then you could choose this NA option. I'll actually include one NA just to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the rest of them. I'm going to switch back over to the dashboard at this point, and I'm going to take a look at the rest of the form. So let's just jump into this risk assessment report. Now, as you can see, the first two sections are complete. We've done some of these risk assessments. Then we've got this general checks section. Again, we can customize this for you if your process is a little bit different. This is just a few basic checks, you know, to say you've considered the weather, the equipment, and the controls and what have you. So let's just pop that in. And then finally, we've got this declaration. So the declaration is basically just a sign off. I'll not actually do this yet. We're going to look at the report first, give it a little preview, and then we'll come back and do the declaration in a sec. Okay, so first thing you'll notice is we've got this cover page information. It's telling us it's a risk assessment, showing us where the job was, where it took place. And we've got some information about the job, you know, the client, project, site address, and so on. Then we've got some of the site information we added. We didn't add all of this, but you know, this would just pad out this section of the report. And because we haven't put the sign off in yet, it's saying awaiting sign off. That's our final declaration once we're happy with it. Now, if we head on to the risk assessment section, you can see we did those two risks. We did asbestos and chemical hazards, and for confined spaces, we marked that as not applicable. So the one that we deleted, the biohazard information, has just not appeared on the report at all. So you can see here the difference between either deleting the risk or marking it as NA. So if you delete it, it's just not going to show in here whatsoever. If you mark it as NA, it will still show, but you'll have this NA option. So it may be a matter of personal preference as to which one you do. But you can see these two items where there was risks have been color coded. So this is the risk level before and the risk level after. And then if we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see we had those general checks. That was that little checklist that we ran through just to show that we've considered those things as well. So it really is very simple. As I say, it's a very simple report. The last thing to do would be to head over to the declarations and actually sign off the report. So I'm going to pop in my name here. I'm going to pop in my company. And then I'm just going to pop in my role. Let's say I'm the lead surveyor on this project, and we can put in my signature as well. I happen to have one handy. And then finally pop in the date and time, so it's 14:38 now. Good stuff. So that's the last part of the risk assessment done. If I head back over to the report, you can see, you know, we still have that same cover information, but we've now got this declaration to say we've signed it off, we're happy with the risk assessment, and yeah, it's all sort of completed. Like I say, you know, you may not want all of this information to show on the report, in which case you probably want to delete those items that aren't relevant. Or alternatively, if you don't want all of these items shown here, these risks here, like I say, you can delete them from the app like this. You'll see they're disappearing as I'm removing them. Or, you know, instead of using the add preset option, which added all these individually, what you could do instead, like I say, is just add the relevant risks, the ones you're interested in, rather than, you know, using that preset to add 20 or 30 items all at once. So that was just a quick rundown of how you create a risk assessment. Now, in reality, you'll probably have a job with the report that you're actually doing, the survey that you're doing, for example, an asbestos survey report. And then you'll also have a risk assessment report within the same job to just prove that you considered the risks on site before you started the work. This is something that the accreditation bodies may ask you for, you know, maybe a requirement that you have to do a risk assessment, but more importantly than that, it means that you're keeping your surveyors safe and making sure they've considered all the relevant risks before they start working. Now, this template is available in our template library. If you would like access to it, please get in touch and we can add it to your account. And if you need any customizations, please let us know, because we're very flexible with that too.